Trigger warning for the following topics: sexual harassment, child endangerment, grooming, and suicide. Be present, and as soon as that was passed to Ruby, they seemingly got cold feet, and the call never ended up happening. Well, it's been about 3 weeks since my original video on Toasty came out, and well, I didn't expect I would need to make an update video, but a few different things have happened. I need to correct a few bits of information that you may have seen in the pinned comment of my original video, along with some new stuff. And of course, the elephant in the room, and probably the reason why you clicked on this video, I did end up having a call with Toasty. And it's a bit of a long one. So artists, sit back, get a pen, and enjoy. The first half of this video will be the update part of my video. The second will be the call. At certain points in the call, certain screenshots were exchanged, and for those I will be throwing them up on screen as needed. So let's get into it. Rex Silvermoon was one of the many people I had mentioned in my previous video, and at the time of recording, they were still associated with Toasty. This has now changed, as seen in the screenshot on screen. They had explained the reasoning for this on them having not looked into the research properly, which they have now since corrected. Catefishin was one of the people who had blocked me on reception of my message in my original video. That has now since changed, and Kate has been helpful with me looking into Toasty during this time frame and passing me any other relevant information. Through them, I had learned that Toasty did have a community Discord server. However, from their own experience, it did have an NSFW channel, but it was heavily age-gated. The server has now since been deleted, in an attempt to make it 18+. Kate has now since also made a document and also streamed their experiences regarding Toasty, and has now entirely cut them off. I will be linking the document in the description down below for those who wish to read it. Timeworks. As a shock to absolutely nobody, least of all me, Timeworks has yet to respond to any of my messages regarding the Toasty situation, and has also ignored a Twitter post I had made where I had pinged them in it. Am I surprised? No. They're a large channel, and they can seemingly afford to ignore information and accusations against them. I felt like they might have done the right thing, but here we are. Team Ancilla. Team Ancilla was one of the more
"Stay the fuck out of my DMs, away from my fucking community, and kindly go fuck yourself"
colourful responses I got in my previous video. They had since made a community post about it quite vaguely.
Hey guys, quick little thing. Remember that drama tuber thing I posted about a month ago? Don't worry, like I said, it hasn't blown up. This is literally all I'm gonna say on this matter, and then it's back to regularly scheduled programming. The drama people made their little videos, and I'm not going to interact or make responses. It really is a nothing burger, and this isn't worth my time or energy. I've got a family to take care of, college courses to attend, work to do, and a channel and a community to run. That said, the situation is pretty messy, and I'm someone that believes in integrity, and more importantly, building a safe and healthy community. So with that in mind, I'm going to distance myself from RubyLighterfluid for a while until the situation either resolves itself or becomes more clear. If you know the whole thing, you know, especially those on my Discord. TLDR, people are accusing Ruby of really serious stuff. Ruby has lots of compelling counter evidence and has been pretty transparent with me and other creators. I believe Ruby, alongside other VTubers, and now we're being roped into it despite wanting nothing to do with this. I don't care about people trying to spew BS about me. I know who I am, and frankly, anyone who even bothers to look into my very public record will see who I am. I believe in kindness, love, and protecting people. I will fiercely fight for people if I think that they have a good heart. I'll also be combative when I feel it's prudent or required. I'm also very protective of y'all. I don't want people to harass or hurt members of my community, and I don't want people to feel unsafe. I have many people, some of whom have survived serious traumatic events, whom I'm actively supporting. Nobody needs petty childish drama, especially them. And because of that, I'm gonna make the hard call and do what's best for y'all. You come watch me for laughs, nerdy content, my stupidity, my rants, my shouts, my played-up fury. You're not here for a he said, she said, blah blah YouTube drama festival. And the situation feels less cut and dry every time it gets brought up. I don't want to be the kind of person who jumps and shouts at every little thing. I'll call bullshit where I feel like it is needed, but I also know when to back off and let some sleeping dogs lie. So yeah, it's not the first time I've distanced myself from someone I know, and if it comes to it, I'll offer harsh condemnation, but I really don't think I'm gonna have to do that. The drama tubers have not exactly given me a reason to believe them, and to me, they're very disingenuous with their conduct. Hell, even my friend Galaxy is okay, who is a sizable drama tuber herself at some point, picked through a video and wasn't impressed. Regardless, I'm not stupid. I'm not stubborn. Well, actually, I'm very stubborn. So stubborn it annoys the crap out of people in my life. Working on it. But I'm not going to shove my head in the sand. I know when to sit back and observe, see what happens. Okay, half-ass statement done. Feel free to ask questions on my Discord if you want. I believe in transparency. Got nothing to hide. I've always been an open book, even about my flaws. But otherwise, back to normal Ancilla scheduling. Let's play some Sonic Generations tonight.
After my conversation with Toasty, that you will see in this video, people had apparently been harassing them and also their partner. Firstly, how can I harass someone I didn't even know existed? And the apparent harassment I had learned was given Ant typing "Yen says hi" in one of their live chats. I don't know how that's harassment, but again, Toasty had asked me to help put a stop to the apparent harassment to Ancilla. But given I have yet to see actual proof of harassment, and aside the fact that in a community post they had opened up the chance for people to ask questions on the situation, but had instead hid people from live chats, along with the fact that Ancilla had said indefensible things about the FCK victims not being actual victims, I have no reason to defend them. I had then later had a conversation with Ancilla to get a more clear understanding of what their intentions are.
Hi, this is a long and rambling message from my phone. I literally just typed all this out after gathering my thoughts. I'd like to start by personally apologizing to you. I'm not the kind of person that will die on a hill even when I'm wrong. If you are a party that is trying to do the right thing, and that everything you've done has been done because you want to right wrongs, then I cannot, in good conscience, maintain my statement to you. I should have taken the time to talk and listen. I shouldn't have even gotten involved in the first place. Between others coming to Ruby's defense and my close friendship with her, I thought that you were a grifter drama channel that was, among other things, trying to use her as a scapegoat for the atrocious behavior of others. I will also say that the actions of others who've come into my stream and comments and socials, not to mention the fact that you've been mentioned by name in vaguely worded attempt to intimidate me, reinforce this assessment. Perhaps I was wrong, and I hope I am. I had until recently always been under the impression that Ruby had been troubled youth who'd made mistakes at the time of the whole FCK situation. I thought that she was someone who, now as an adult, was trying to live her life and do better. To an extent, I still believe that, but I didn't know the full scope of her actions. I still don't know, but I know more than I did before. I condemn her actions, the hurt caused, and the whole situation altogether. I don't condone anything. Now that I've taken the time to look at various videos, and now that I've held Ruby accountable in private just now, I can say that I'm disgusted with what I've seen and am now aware of. And for that matter, I've known for a fact that creators like Lady Saffron and others would never, ever, ever be okay with this. And I know they're not okay with this. They want to let this go. I wanted to do the right thing. At the time, I thought I was. But the more and more the situation got brought up and the more I learned, it started to become less clear-cut. To the point that, as I've said, I don't want anything to do with this. I do, however, genuinely believe that Ruby has changed as a person, and that she wants to do better. It is true that she has been there for me during dark times, and she hasn't ever taken advantage of me and our friendship. But she can't take anything back. Nobody can. She can't undo the past, and no amount of good will ever change the fact that people got hurt, including her, the people she hurt, and the people around them. And, for that matter, as a survivor of many things, as someone who has actively helped other survivors of everything from rape to abuse and PTSD, the thought that I might inadvertently enabled some bad people makes me ill. Again, I just wanted to do the right thing. And I thought at first that I was. Not so sure anymore. I'll be honest, I don't know who to believe or trust. Frankly, the only person who I do trust is Lady Saffron, who is a brilliant woman of integrity and intelligence that I value greatly. I don't want to be involved with this anymore. I'll level with you, and this isn't to throw a pity party, of course. I own my mistakes. That said, my physical health has been rough for a while. Financially, we're in a bit of trouble. My family just lost our house, so we're in the middle of a chaotic and last-minute move. I'm busy with college, trying to make ends meet, etc. I don't need any of this YouTube drama. I shouldn't have gotten involved with it in the first place, as I said. I know that there are so many others out there that are in pain, struggling, and part of why I make content is to help with that. I'm not a perfect person. I think this whole thing has shown that. The only things I can do are my best and try to do what I think is right. That's why I'm talking to you, and I hope that, on that mentality, we are the same.
Thank you for getting that clear. Again, I do hope to use this experience as a learned experience. If you have seen my video, you will know I made it clear that Ruby wasn't the only bad actor in FCK, and your general responses to what had happened was disheartening, given it was dismissing the victims without you having actually looked into the case yourself, despite my attempt to inform you, along with your YouTube post where you leave yourself open to questions and yet your response to people doing so or poking at that possibility leaves you very defensive, so it does leave quite the bad taste. I do not know your partner, so I or others wouldn't even know to harass them. Also, nobody has any reason to do so, as they haven't done anything, and if your stance has changed, that's fine by me. There is one part I would like some clarity on, and that is your reference to Galaxy is okay. It's been to my understanding that they have been out of the community for a long time. If they do have anything of credence to Toasty's offense, I would love to hear it.
I appreciate your candid answer, and you're right. Let's be frank, I fucked up on my end of things no matter how well-meaning I was. If I may offer clarity on the matter of my post about taking questions, that was mainly directed at my community, but also others. However, when I started getting some pretty messy comments, it muddied the waters, if that makes sense. I frankly didn't know who was a good faith actor and who was just trying to cause a problem, so I mostly just ignored things because I felt it wasn't worth it. Especially because of everything that's been happening in my life. I just didn't have the energy to parse through who was and wasn't genuine. I was so fierce because I thought that a lot of these claims were false, and in turn my thoughts were on how false claims hurt real victims, some of which, again, I actively support and help around my community. False claims make it so actual victims are often unable to get the justice and closure they need, as you surely know. As for my partner, I've done stuff with her in the past, and she got some nasty messages recently, so given everything, we thought it had to do with the Ruby situation. If not, then that's just fine. I'd rather be wrong, don't want her anywhere near this. I have, however, been attacked in my comments and socials and in my stream yesterday. I'll also add that my initial dismissal was, again, because I was under the impression that I was being lied to by malicious parties, especially when other creators thought the same. But yes, this is a learning experience. And I'll readily admit there was also a part of me that was just in reckless denial. I couldn't imagine Ruby was capable of these things at the time. I'm also even more disappointed in myself because this isn't the first time I've looked at another creator and called them out and walked away. There was a fairly prominent guy in the 40k community, Zoro. Lots of people loved him, lots of creators. He turned out to be a pedophile. So the moment I got all the dates from the other creators and learned of everything, I got right out of there and walked away. At the very least in this whole thing, Ruby actually wants to do better, unlike Zoro. I'm proud of her for that, but I'm also extremely disappointed in her as well. I'm also hurt and, well, pissed to hell and back. Others are too, especially because we went out to bat for her. That's not the cast to blame off for everything. Again, I made my mistakes. I hope in that you can forgive me, and I also hope that we can part ways amicably. Oh right, and as for Galaxy, yeah, she stopped making content with both of us for teens. When I talked to her about it, she decided to look into it. Basically, her opinion was that the story was a bit too not neat, but incomplete. Like, she felt like that the way things were presented, coupled with some details from Ruby, made the current way everything is being talked about extremely incomplete. She felt other people needed to be held to account. Not that Ruby was innocent of everything, but she felt like certain parties were being disingenuous. Oh, and thanks for listening.
No worries, and thank you for reopening the line of communication.
Of course, it was the right thing for me to do. I'm going to be departing from this whole thing now, so will others. I don't want to make a statement, and I would rather just retract my previous statements. As I've said, I don't want anything to do with this mess anymore. I want to learn from it and get back to what I do. My community doesn't need it, the people around me don't need it, and I'm too busy. But if need be, I can make a statement.
I think a less vague statement on a stream or something would be good, but again, balls in your court.
Integrity and transparency, as I like to say. And for the victims of this whole thing, let them know that I'm sorry for not hearing them, for what it's worth. I'll make a post on YouTube and announcement on Discord, as only people who are in the server/follow posts really know about any of this. If asked on stream though, yeah, I'll say something there too. With that, I hope you have a good night and also a good life. Wishing you and everyone the best.
Future Yen here. It now turns out that Encilia did make a community post on their YouTube. So, all in all, it seems that things have come around quite nicely in the end, where people who weren't fully aware of what Ruby/Toasty had done in the past have now been informed and have made the decision to distance themselves from them, including those in their own friend group who were unaware of their previous actions. And now we're on to the main part of this video. The way that this call came about is quite interesting. I had noticed that Rex Silvermoon had actually re-added me again and said that Ruby did want to speak to me. Ruby then sent me a friend request and then we started talking and arranging a date. I agreed under the terms that again, I could bring another person with me, but it wouldn't have been like the last time. I didn't bring Lyra with me this time. I decided to bring Thumin, who you may know as someone who has been very much looking into the FCK situation and is working on their own complete video on the entire situation. Now, you may notice in the call, Toasty had asked us to not include anything in relation to Slimurrz, also known as Hoji, in the actual final upload of the call. Me and Thumin had decided to go against this as there was no real reason for doing so, along with the fact that Toasty had apparently lied when they said that they had permission to speak on Slimurrz's behalf. So let's get into it.
There's something I want to bring up before anyone starts recording as like a bit of context, if that's okay. Me and Hoji are friends. We're very close friends. I don't want to be open about this because I know people are very willing and able to use that as a weapon against her. But me and her have talked extensively about this throughout the years. We've been through this together. Like, we've talked a lot about it. And I want just it to be clear, we've moved past this as like close friends. And we've forgiven each other for like anything that we've done to each other. And I just wanted to like just be clear because that's gonna not be easy to hide as like this recording goes on, that we're friends. Also, I do have her permission to speak on her behalf throughout some of this because some of this does require her point of view to like kind of explain. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do have to disclose that I have interviewed Hoji and I have her point of view on a lot of.
I am aware of that.
Yeah.
We've also talked about that too.
Yeah. I mainly have like a list of questions that I want to go through one by one. And if anything comes up or you feel like you want to clarify things, we will give you like the platform to do so.
Okay. I think I'm okay with that. I am like nervous because it's the first time I've done this. Or this is like the first time I've kind of like made myself publicly available, if you know what I mean. I just kind of wanted to be clear. I do want to like settle things in a way that's beneficial for everyone. But at the same time, there was a lot of fucked up shit that happened to me. And a lot of it I want to like throw out and not look at it anymore. But like a lot of it I'm not going to be able to ignore.
Is there anything else you want to say before we officially start?
Is this like Yen's thing and then you're just kind of here as like power balance or is this both of y'all's things?
What this is going to be, a lot of the questions is going to come from Thumin because they have a lot more of an in-depth understanding about what to really ask about because they have been covering this a lot more in depth than I ever have. And that's how it's going to go. So it's mainly is going to be Thumin who is going to be asking you the questions. I might chime in here and there and as needed, but that is how it's going to go. For ground rules, we're not coming in here with the intention of screaming at people. We want full transparency as much as possible. That is like all we want, and I think that is in the best interest for everyone.
Okay.
If you are as honest as possible. And even then, I know it's going to be hard for people to believe, given the past and everything that has happened. I will obviously still doubt stuff that you say, but I would like you to speak into yourself to be honest when questions are asked.
Last thing. I'm doing this primarily so that I can uninvolve people that are currently in my life. I know some of them are talking to you. I don't know the full extent of it, but I know that they're talking to you. And if they want to be involved, they can be involved. But to the people that you've reached out to, the whole point of me being here is so that you don't have to go do that to get me to like do something. You know what I mean?
I see.
So as long as like they get left alone and they don't get dragged into this, because I want to be the only person that realistically has to suffer from this. I don't want them to like have to go answer for my own actions. I'd rather answer for my actions.
Yeah.
So as long as
But there is one thing. When I was approaching all of these people, it was to make sure that they had an understanding of what had happened and what you did. And I'm guessing you have seen the interactions I've had with the people that I have approached.
they were aggressive.
It seems to be. It's not even that was the issue. it was very dismissing of the things that had happened. And I don't know, given the past and how far ago you had talked to these people, probably is how I'm assuming when you had told these specific people about what happened. Did you tell them a lighter story of what had happened compared to what had actually occurred within FCK?
I told them as summarized of a summary I could give them from what I remember happened. I'm Ruby. I go by she, her now. I used to be ToastyVanilla, and I used to go by he, him. I want to give this important. I left ArtCC when I was 19 because I felt that it was destroying me and making me a worse person. And so I took drastic action to separate myself from all the people I was involved with. And then 3 years later, I slowly reintegrated back into content creation.
Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and start the questions, and we can kind of pick your brain as to why some of the things happened that happened in that server. So, how did the FCK or Fruit Cake Club server even come about?
It came about because you know who Madame is, right?
Yes.
Madame, that whole thing?
Yeah.
So the server was, do you know who Zach is? I don't know if that's the name he currently goes by. I don't know if that was his alias, but that was the 12-year-old.
Yes.
Okay. He, as far as I understand it, and as far as me and Slimurrz have talked about it, he made the server with a bunch of Madame mods to give Hoji, I'm going to call her Hoji, to give Hoji support for what she was going through. And then Hoji invited me into the server later on. So that's how it initially became a thing. Then when then after all that kind of concluded, me and Hoji were like closer as friends. We weren't like great friends, but we liked each other. And we kind of were like, hey, what if we invited all of our friends into this? And then we kind of made this our own thing. And so from that point, what had happened is it was still her server, but I was like bringing people into it, and she was bringing people into it. We brought artists and content creators for the purpose of just making content together. There was an admin that kind of oversaw everything. He wasn't associated with either my group of friends or Hoji's group of friends. He was kind of separate. And anytime we like wanted anything done administratively, we kind of went to him and be like, hey, this is kind of what we want to do. Can we do this? And then he would be like, yeah. He was given like kind of like God mode by the server owner, who we didn't know was 12. At least as far as I understand, he made the server. I think someone else could have made the server, but either way, the server owner gave him that, and then he kind of oversaw everything when like anything went wrong. So that's how the server came to be. Over time, it became less of Hoji's server and more of my server as like kind of months went on, because I was just more, how do I say? The word that we use to like kind of, when we talked about it, we were like, I was kind of just more charismatic, more open, more talkative, more like accepting to like kind of make this my project. And then over time, then she kind of, people then started to see it as more my server than it was her server. But the server was made for her, and ultimately it was a server for her. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, who was the admin? Because
I
they
don't
never
remember his
specifically
name.
named. Okay.
I knew him as Null, but I don't know anything about him. I could go into my old account and I could go dig up our DMs with him. That might take a while. I won't be able to do that now. I could try to give you more information on that. The thing is, I just didn't know a lot about him.
Okay.
I only went to him whenever I wanted to like do something on like make a change or kick someone out.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you could provide those after we're all done, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I could do that.
any proof, screenshots, anything to back up your side of the story will help. So, if you have any, definitely like you can share them in this group chat. I wanted to ask you, were you aware of Zach's age when you
No.
were in the server? When did you find out about their age?
I found out about it a year ago. like when all of this started coming out.
How did you find out?
I was by just observing the drama from a distance. I was just like, what the fuck? That guy was 12? He didn't tell anyone. And I didn't know him on any personal level to like be able to suss it out. If I'm being fully honest, I thought he was around our age. He was a Madame Mod. No one knew him that well. He had his group of friends on that server that he kind of brought into, one of which I'm going to talk about later because I feel gross about what I said to her, but I'm going to get into that later. He had his own group of friends that he brought in, and then over time they stopped becoming involved in the server, and it just became a server on their list. But I found out when everyone else found out.
Okay. Were you aware they had a VC channel in the FCK server?
What do you mean? Like their own VC channel?
Yes, called Zach's VC channel.
No, I don't think I as of right now, this does not ring any bells to me. So that could have been like a thing that they had that was like private from like everyone else because like they owned the server, and that sounds like that's what it was. I think you can see it on Vencord, but I haven't started using Vencords till recently.
Were you aware of Slimurr's age when you befriended her?
Yeah, I was.
And your
Everyone
age
was.
Could you
Uh,
state the ages?
She was 15, I was 18.
How did you feel about the age gap?
At that point in time, I was like, it was 2 years and 11 months. And I saw that as, oh, I've interacted with like this age gap before. I was in high school. She was also in high school. And the way I saw things back then was kind of let me collect my words real quick. The way I saw things back then was we're close together in age. Like you've done the same things I did when I was 15. I don't feel like we're doing anything that's unusual for teenagers to do because I didn't have a sexual attraction to her. I never had. So the way I saw anything that we did together was just like goof, just like fun. But initially, when she initially invited me to the server, there is those set of screenshots where she posts porn, and then I, in response, be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, this is like really weird. Why would you do that? I don't think that's exactly what I said, but I said something around those lines. And then in return, she said, shut the fuck up. I'll draw porn of your OC next. And then I say, okay, bet. That is me kind of joking in an, like, I don't know how to process what she just said to me, but she's more popular than me, so I want her to like me. So I kind of go along with it. But then we get into a VC, and I kind of tell her, hey, I don't think I want you to do that. I don't think I don't think I want you to do that. And then all the people that like kind of we were in that VC with were kind of being like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Like, it's whatever. Like, you're not even telling her to do it. So like, who cares? And I'm like, yeah, but like, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I think I would just prefer regular fan art. And at the time, the way like I kind of saw things is like, oh, she's like really popular. I really want to like be friends with this person because like, she's so popular. I like she was kind of in the celebrity part of my brain. And so I was just kind of like, okay, sure. As long as like I have some sort of plausible deniability, I'm not gonna like, I don't really care. And so she made it. I got excited about it because it was a big artist that was popular making something for me. And like I got excited about it and I shared it with the people on the server and they're like, no, you can't do that. She'll get in trouble if you post it. So the people that I was like, and I don't remember who I was surrounded with at the time. I don't remember the exact time frame, and I don't remember who I had in my life at the time. But I remember that I became so comfortable with the way we interacted with each other was because everyone around me was like, oh, this is not a big deal. It's like, this is like, so whatever. Like, who cares, you know?
I'll put a pin on that for a little bit, and we can circle back to Slimurrz later. But I wanted to ask about the creators that were invited into the server. So you said it kind of evolved into something that, like a project of yours, where you wanted to create a network server for creators in the art commentary community. And I noticed that there were really big creators such as LS Mark, Cartoonshi, and so many others that were not necessarily active in the server. How did you get people to join the server?
Everyone participated in some sort of way. Because once I invited like Xena, Lucy, Libby, fucking Nezzy, once I kind of had that, like that was like kind of the core of the friend group, was like kind of those group, and then a couple others like Trent and others. But they also participated in it. They also invited people. It wasn't just me getting people in the server. I got like a good initial group, but I remember Ellis Mark was invited by someone else. ZZ invited a couple others. But there's a lot of big creators that were in there that like they didn't do anything. They didn't know anything. Like Nani didn't do anything. She didn't know anything. Fucking Ellis Mark, he didn't do anything. He didn't know anything. I would even go like Dumbsville. As far as I remember, he didn't do anything. He didn't know anything, and he was invited by Lucy. This was more than just kind of my project. It kind of became the project of the people around me because they also benefited from it.
So, did you witness any of the adults or the creators being inappropriate with the minors in the FCK server?
Oh, absolutely. This is where things get like really hazy, and I have some screenshots. One of like the primary sources of evidence that I have that's been unseen is the group chats, because there was group chats that I archived like ages ago because I had a feeling something like this would happen even at this point in time. So I've been preparing for this for like a while. So I think it's in here. Let me go dig it up.
You can share any of the archives, that would be extremely helpful as well.
I'd have to go through them, but I would like to like help on the project.
Did Toby Majestic ever share a nude of their OnlyFans in the FCK server?
In the FCK server? I don't think so. To us, yes.
Because I have corroborating witnesses saying that they saw that they saw them post a nude and then delete it.
You know, I would not doubt that happened, but like I can't stand here and say that I witnessed that because I don't have a memory of witnessing that.
Do you remember anything regarding Nezzy Monster, of them being like sexual, other than just like participating in the porn spamming? Like when they were in VCs, like were there sexual talks in front of?
I remember having a sexual talk, like a few sexually charged talks with her. Remembering who the audience was, I can't for the life of me remember that.
I actually am curious about Hopeless Beaches. So, do you remember that LollyCon picture that they drew of you and them taking a shower together?
Yeah, I do. I remember all the context to it too.
Could you tell us the context, and was it supposed to be a sexual thing?
It was not. God, fuck. I worded this in such a weird way, and I don't know why Peaches had a positive response to it. But basically, just one day I went up to Peaches and was like, "Hey, I think like nudity without like a sexual context is like pretty cool," because like I had like looked at fucking art where it's like there's nudity, but it's not. It's just very casual. Like there's no sexualness behind it. And I was like telling her about that, being like, "I think that's pretty cool," and she was like. And she kind of thought it was cool. She like kind of agreed with me. And then so she drew that where it was like just us doing like casual everyday things where there's like some semblance of nudity, but it's not like in a sexual context. That was the idea behind it. And then again, she's way more popular than me. And then at the time I had a crush on her because I thought her voice was pretty. So I shared it around. I didn't think, not thinking much of it. The point of it isn't supposed to be lolly. That just happened to be the art style that she went with at the time.
Okay. I wanted to ask about the incident that happened with you and Hopeless Peaches.
I made it up. Let me explain. I already know what you're gonna fucking bring up. I was alone in a VC. I didn't know I was in the VC. Peaches joins the VC to make fun of me for being alone in a VC. So me and my genius be like, oh, I should tell her I'm fucking masturbating because I think that'll make her laugh. And I told her that and it made her laugh. And that was like enough dopamine to be like, oh, this is funny, I'll tell it to other people. It was a bit that I made up and continued because I got like positive reception for it. Do I think it's funny? It's weird. Yeah, I know.
So years later, when you were interviewed by Junkie, you actually gleefully told this story again. So was that still another lie?
Yeah, pretty much. I just kept the bit going.
Okay. Do you have like a habit of lying?
At that point in time, yes. It is weird. It is not consistent.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't lie to like get like to like try to get things that I wanted. I would like lie to like about just like random stupid shit. Like shit, honestly, just shit that would like put me into more trouble than is worth. Like in one case, I fucking told a friend that like, oh, I'm stalking Peaches, even though like in reality, I'm just like looking at her Twitter like once a month. I'd be like, yeah, like I'm stalking her, and then they went and told Peaches that, and then that put me into more trouble. And I look back at that, I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? Like that was like,
sorry, go ahead.
it was like, and then when I look back at it, I was like, why the fuck did I do that? That's like, that didn't do anything. Like I didn't have a reason to do that. So like I did have a habit of lying, but it was over like shit that like didn't mean anything.
I just want to. There's one thing before we go on to that, and that is the added thing of from that story with Peaches and the VC and masturbating. Why did you feel it was appropriate to specifically ping Slimurrz inside of FCK to tell them about it? And from what I can see, there's no indication of you telling it was a joke, and even if it was a joke, there's no excuse for that type of behavior.
Well, like, yeah, I agree. It was fucking weird of me. That's just the relationship I had with her at the time. I was just that level of comfortable with her. I don't know. Hold on. Let me find better words. It's just weird behavior that I had when I was in high school. That's it.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say on that part.
Yeah. Okay.
Continue.
We can move on to Miss Zizi. Do they have a thigh fetish?
No.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because after looking
Yeah.
at the server, they're asking every single person they come across to send thigh pictures. Especially the minors in the server. I believe they almost ask every single minor in the server to send their bare thighs to them.
1 second, because the way I remember it is that I felt like I was the one that was like kind of encouraging that. And so that was a level of guilt I held for a while. So hearing you say it was ZZ is challenging a perception of myself that like I had before that is interesting. Can you like could you like go into a little bit more detail?
You definitely did ask for them as well, but one thing I realized when I was going through the server logs is that Miss Zizi would ask Slimurrz, Mimi, Gar, and the server members to send pictures of their thighs, and they would also share pictures of their thighs to them. And they would speak very sexually with the minors in the server.
I don't know. I can't speak on her behalf. Like I don't know why she did that. I don't know why that was like a thing. Again, I
don't
feel
cover for her if you feel like if something happened.
No, I'm being genuine. I don't know why she did that. I'm not aware of any of that. I've known her for a while, and I've known her on an intimate level. I don't have anything to add to that. That's kind of her fight. I feel weird that I had a part in it though. Like, um, that's I just hold. It's just something I hold guilt over.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Do you remember Miss Easy sexually role playing with any of the minors in the FCK server VC chat?
No, but I do remember Mimi doing it.
Mimi was a minor at the time.
Yeah.
And Miss Easy was 23 at the time. Mimi was 17.
Are you talking about between Mimi and Zizi?
Yes, there did happen inappropriate conversations with them.
Okay, hold on. I think I do remember this. It was with Art, right?
I'm not sure about that.
Because what I remember is I was in the VC with Slimurrz and Mimi, and Xena could have been there. I do not explicitly remember her being there. I only remember the 3 participants. And what I remember is that like Mimi and Slimurrz kind of started having like some sort of art roleplay with their characters, and I didn't really understand what they were doing or what was going on, and I kind of felt uncomfortable, so I just kind of left. I don't remember if Xena was there, and I don't remember if something like that happened again with her.
So you have no recollection of ZZ being inappropriate or sexual with any of the kids or minors, and when I say minor, I mean under 18 years old, in the VCs of the FCK server.
I didn't say that. I said I don't remember that specific incident happening. Again, I'm going to refer to my blanket statement. She did not censor herself in any way when like she hung out with us. Like, she didn't care who was in VC. Just like most of the other people, they just said whatever the fuck they wanted to, and they just did whatever they wanted to.
Do you recall in the when the Toby drama was like starting up, and Ben Deluni was thrown out of the FCK server? Nezzy Monster came to you and asked for the Slimurrz not safe for work chat or channel to be taken down. Do you recall that?
Do you have a screenshot of it? Because like as it stands, I don't have a memory of it.
I do have a screenshot of it. I'll send it to you later. So you don't remember Nezzy Monster asking you for that server to be taken down? Sorry, for that channel to be taken down.
What was my response to it? Did I even have a response?
Yeah, you said you hit, put it into hiding. You hit the channel. You took it down.
Because I'm trying to recover all those memories and figure out like what was going through my head or what I was doing during that point in time before I make any any statement really.
In that screenshot, Nezzy asked you for that chat to be taken down, and you hit that channel. My question is, why did you guys wait for Bentaluni to call you guys out on hypocrisy for that channel to be taken down? Now, let me preface that a little bit to refresh your memory. The whole Toby drama started from Bentaluni making it a big deal that he got thrown out of the server and called a pedophile because he drew a lolicon of drawn porn of kids, basically, which is disgusting. I'm gonna put that out there. It's very disgusting. But he basically called you guys out for being hypocrites because you guys had a not safe for work channel for Slimurrz, who was 15 at the time, so a minor, and you guys were asking her to post porn in there, and there was no moderation about that. So his argument was that you guys are putting actual minors at risk, and I'm just drawing fictional minors. And only then, when he called you guys out on that, is when Nezzy Monster came to you to ask for that channel to be hidden, and that is when it was hidden. So why is it that it was hidden? Because of a hypocrisy claim, and not because it's actually morally wrong to put children in harm's way?
Let me think. Let me collect my words. That would kind of be around the time where probably like the first time where the kind of behavior that was going on was being called into question. And I think Nezzy saw that and was like, oh, this is bad. And then DM'd me to like take down the channel. And then I probably DM'd the person that actually does all the work to be like, hey, this should be removed. And then I'm guessing they hit it. I'm guessing that was the decision that they kind of made.
But why
That's
did it
how-
take someone else to point out that for it to be taken down? So here's, for example, like a tweet at the time that you made, which is you guys like are very much like debating and fighting people over the fact that they're pedophiles if they draw child porn of any kind, which I agree is like a thing. Like, I think it is disgusting that if someone draws child porn, and it does put children in danger, right? But you guys were like going on this crusade, but you had minors in your server and you were posting porn in that server a lot, and you even had a porn channel for one of those minors.
I have my words. I regret the Ben Crusade. That was me like kind of falling into this is like the moment that Ben drama was the moment when I started to turn that was like the first step in which my behavior started to turn around. Because do you know who Minty Shit is? Like I know her as Mineral Garbage, you may know her as Minty Shit.
I do know.
She was like, you do know?
Yes.
Okay. She approached to me a while ago and we had a very long conversation. And I regret the Ben shit because that was me being like overtly like zealous and like sure in my ideas and like what I thought was what, when in reality I didn't fucking know anything. I was going along with like what other people were like being hyped up about, what other people were being like, I was following the group mentality in essence. And when everyone like started making videos on like Ben being like, oh, blah, 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 and that Toby drama started, I stepped back. I was like, and they didn't like that I stepped back. They were like, they saw that, from what I remember, they saw that as a betrayal because Minty Shit reached out to me and we talked it and I was like, this shit's like not worth it. Like, what am I doing? This is like, that was like the moment where I was like, what the fuck am I doing right now? Before then, it was shit that was like, the reason it like was allowed, like it continued and it was allowed is because for me, that was normal. That was normal from my childhood. That was normal going into this, like going into being like a content creator. And that shit wasn't challenged for me. In fact, it was encouraged. People encouraged like this idea in my head that like, oh, like fucking people looking at porn, that's just like minors looking at porn, that's normal. Like that this shit happens everywhere. Like this is not a big deal. Because it was instilled in me young and it continued through, and this was the point in which, and it was Minty Shit that like kind of put me on a different direction. And like I owe a lot to her for that. But this was like the point where I'm starting to challenge that like idea of like, okay, what the fuck do I actually like believe? Like what, like I'm just like at this time I'm just listening to the people around me.
I mean, I do agree with the fact that I think personally those who draw lolicon probably are pedophiles, but at the same time my thing is just this, calling someone out for that, right? Which is
no,
fair.
I'm in agreement with
It's
you.
just that you guys were
I'm calling
actually
it out.
actively putting children in harm's way by
Yeah, it
spamming
is a double
porn,
standard.
talking sexually. But like, why was
You're-
that allowed?
It was allowed because it was normal for most of us. Well, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for the older people of the situation. I can't speak for Toby. I can't speak for Zigzy. I can't speak for Libby. But for me, it was because I thought that shit was normal. And I hold guilt over the fact that like, because I didn't think what was being allowed to happen was wrong, that it happened. Just because like I can give you the excuse of like, oh, it was normalized, it still happened. that's still something I'm going to come forward and be like, wow, I'm sorry that I allowed that to happen. I'm sorry I did that. That is something me and Hoji have talked about. In fact, like after the Akumu video, after like Akumu and like his lackeys like all like threw me in like a fucking octagon and like we like fucking yelled at them and I was being a jackass. The next person I talked to after that was Hoji, and I was like, hey, I don't think I'm okay with the fact that you drew porn of me. I don't think I'm okay with that anymore. And we talked about it and we were like, yeah, let's just try to move on from it. That was kind of this is like, and I agree, like what was going on was like a double standard, but I didn't see it that way. I saw as like my friends were telling me, this guy draws this, therefore he's bad and a pedophile and all this, and I'm like, I'm also angry, so I'm gonna go chase after him too. And a lot of like, you know what, I'm just gonna like end it there. We'll like give you room to talk.
Okay, I had another question, which is relating to Slimurrz. Why was the Slimurrz not safe for work chat even made? Did you guys? Because my thing is this, right? You guys talked a lot about this Madame drama. You talked about how Madame put Slimurrz in danger, how they tried to exploit them as a young minor artist, and that was a huge deal with every single person in that server. Like the fact that they were 15, they didn't have PayPal, they were put in harm's way, this big creator exploited them, and then when they joined that server with you guys, it devolves into like a sex den basically, where all kinds of degenerate porn is shared, and they have a whole dedicated not safe for work channel for them to post porn in. Like, I don't understand the logic behind that. So why did that come about? Where did that lack of like reasoning come from?
So let me pull my thoughts together real quick.
Take your time.
There was like a point, and this is gonna go back to when that happened, when like she drew the porn of me, that was the point when it happened. She posted porn. I was like, hey, what the fuck, don't do that. And she was like, oh, I'm gonna drop porn of your OC. And I was like, and we got in a VC, and I was like, oh, maybe don't do that. And then everyone around us was like I'm going over retread ground. But she was very, me and her both have childhood sexual trauma, and with childhood sexual trauma comes hypersexuality, and that normally gets experienced in your teens. I'm not saying this is a justification, I'm saying this as how this happened, because the justification is, I wish it didn't happen. That, like, I if I could go back as an adult and be like, no, this isn't happening. This is why this isn't happening. This needs to stop. I would. I can't change the past, but I could wish it didn't happen. Either way, when I was there, everyone around us just being like, oh, this is so funny. This is like a gaff, a goof, or whatever. And she was like, and they made like the art barn for her because at the time she had a very hypersexual personality, and we bounced that off of each other because like we were friends. It was a friendly thing that we kind of bounced off each other, and as we bounced that off of each other, as we invite other people who also, like Lucy has a childhood sexual trauma as well. Same thing, hypersexuality, bounced off her as well. It was just a thing that kind of bounced off of each other to the point where when there were adults, they didn't care. They didn't care that this was a thing that was happening. They didn't care to like step in and stop it because the way they saw it is that it wasn't wrong. With the NSFW channel in particular, it was made for her at her request. Like she had like, as far as I remember, I'm gonna have to double check on that with her because I don't know if she requested to have it made or if like someone had it made, and then they were just like, okay, cool, this is a thing now. But and just because she requested to have it made doesn't mean it shouldn't have been made. Like, I really do fucking wish that there was someone that stepped in and was like, this can't be allowed to happen. Well, what the fuck are y'all doing? And someone that we would like listen to, not like someone like within the group, not like someone that we would have a reason to be like, because like when it came to Akumu, we had like a lot of reasons to be like, oh, this guy's just a troll. This guy is just like, he's just like creating drama. That's how we were able to easily ignore what he was saying. And like, I do agree, what he was saying was right. I just wish it was more targeted and concise so that we couldn't easily ignore it. Because he made a lot of points, but he didn't like focus on the point that needed to be made. And again, like, he was young. He was a teenager. Shit happens. But a lot of it was just for the teenagers, it was normalized, and then most of them didn't get the opportunity to break that normalization. For the adults, they just did not give a fuck. They just did not care.
Okay.
Does that adequately answer your question?
I still have a few parts that I'm confused about, but I'll ask one more and then Yen can like continue a little bit. But I wanted to ask about the whole Slimurrz thing, right? There's you're telling, so just to clarify, you're telling me that the first not safe for work art that was shared of you, like fan art, was made by Slimurrz, and you felt uncomfortable by it, but you felt like everybody was saying it's okay, so you allowed it and you just went with it, right?
Yeah, and then from that point on, I was like, I guess this is normal, so I just kind of fell into that false sense of security. But yes, and like when she posted it and then when she gave it to me, I was excited. I think that's true. Like, I didn't put my foot down as hard as I should have.
So the reason why I'm having trouble believing or really taking that at face value is because I have multiple, countless instances of you asking Slimurrz to draw not safe for work artwork for you, of your characters, of other people's characters, of the people in the FCK server. So what's that all about? If you felt like uncomfortable by this?
It was initial.
Okay.
I became comfortable with it after that. I'm talking about an initial reaction where I'm uneasy about it and then eased into being like, oh, this isn't a big deal. This is actually like fine and normal. So I didn't carry it. This is like upon first contact, I was like uneasy about it.
Okay. And
then
you
it
felt
was
okay.
normalized.
Yeah, you felt okay
Yeah.
asking them to constantly draw you more stuff.
Yeah. At the time, like, I've said this in extensive detail, normalized. And like at the time, I saw the age gap as small. I was like, okay, she's comfortable with it, and I'm comfortable with it. I do not see the issue, especially if our age gap is small, and I'm not using this is just how I thought at the time. I'm not saying this is how I think now. And I was saying, like, what was going on in my head was just being like, I don't see an issue with this because there's consent, and if you want to talk legality, like, Slimurrz is capable of consenting to me, like, at any point in our relationship. But I don't want to talk about legality. In my head, I was like...
You did bring it up.
I know. I did bring it up, but...
That's kind of... Don't you think that's... If you have to bring up legality, you know there's something wrong.
Yeah. I'm not saying there isn't. I'm saying, like, we're in agreement. I just want to be clear. You're right. That was a bit of an argumentative slip, though.
Did any of the people, especially the adult creators in the FCK, ever bring up anything about the fact that minors were just there and the porn was being posted? Nobody thought that this is wrong?
No, not until, like, well, as far as I remember, no, not until, I guess, that Nezzy thing happened.
Okay. Do you want to ask a couple of questions, Yen, or should I continue?
There's just a few small points that I've picked up, and that's more how you say how like you want originally. You were like, oh, Slimurrz is like this popular artist, you know. I want to, it's really cool for doing this artwork, but you still, from what I've seen uncredited, showed the NSFW fan art that they did on one of your videos in the fan art page, the one where you've got Toast just covering the character's private parts. Um, it's
Yeah.
it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Why
I
the
can
logic
agree.
then, if you're using that logic and you're doing it like, I don't understand. And then you have people like, and I know we're gonna mainly focus on them towards the end of this, but I'm just gonna bring them up here because I have to. Teddy doing the thumbnail for your very sexually charged videos that you did on your channel. Did you not feel like this was inappropriate to do?
Can you bring up the sexually charged video in question?
For example, the Fuchsia Butters Discord server mod video that you did, where they did the thumbnail for it.
God, I do not remember what I did in
Oh,
that. I remember bribing a mod and I threw something in the announcement channel.
It's about, hey, having to say this, it's about the one to do with you want the Fuchsia taking away license to come. That video, the one that you did. But either way, you had Teddy do the thumbnail for that video, and you showed off Slimurrz's sexual artwork and part of the fan art section. Do you have anything to say on that part at all?
Hold on, let me process some of the things you said. So it's part of the content in that video is Lucy has. Can you expand on that a little bit? I just want a full understanding of
So
like.
you wanted to go into the Discord server to change one of the server rules by bribing one of the moderators so that your channel was promoted in the server as one of the server rules. There was an end gag at the video where you say, where there's a rule in Fuchsia server about like taking away someone's license to come. It was just overall a very sexually charged video where you say something like, here I am, come in my balls, and stuff like that in that throughout the whole video. And you get Teddy to do the thumbnail for this video.
Let me think. Let me get my words together. I probably just didn't put two and two together. Again, like, retreading the same ground. Shit was normalized. When it comes to like the art, I can't say for certain, but like I probably thought of it as like, oh, it's censored, so like who cares? Again, just talking about my mindset back then, was more like just do whatever the fuck like I want. I think I can't give you anything more than I've already given you. Like that's just was something that just didn't cross my mind. I just did not think about. But like if it's something I need to apologize for it. Like that's fine. That's fine by me.
Okay. I think that was it for the stuff pertaining to what we're talking about. You're okay to continue now, Thumin.
Okay, thank you. So I want to talk about Zach again. So just to confirm, you're saying that you did not know Zach's age until the FCK story was shared last year.
Am I about to get like a screenshot pulled on me? Because that is like the way that's how I experienced it when like I was viewing it a year ago.
I have evidence that you knew Zach was a minor.
Can I see it?
Absolutely.
Like, wait, are we talking about his specific age or just that he was a minor?
The fact that he was a minor.
Because I did state before, I thought he was around our age. Like, I knew he was in the like this teenager age range. I just didn't know he was that young.
If you had known
Zach's age, would that have changed anything? Do you think that that would have at all changed how you interacted with them, given the fact you had already interacted with minors?
I'm
in
gonna
a-
be honest,
in
I
the
don't know.
same way?
If you want me to be completely honest with you, I don't know. Genuinely, I don't know.
Okay.
So
I
this,
am
yeah.
not capable of putting myself back into the way I thought in that point in time to answer such a specific question.
Yeah, I shared the screenshot here. You guys were having a conversation, and the deleted user is Zach. And you
I'm
even
aware.
mentioned there, like, Zach, look what you started. And then you mentioned that 2 minors are ganging up on you and that this is revenge lolly rape. And
Yeah.
Slimurrz is saying, we're fucking the adults now. And then you continue the bit. And it goes into, like, you talking about, like looting lollies. So this, like, proves to me that you knew that they were under the age of 18. So if you had an inkling that
I'm
they're
not-
around your age, that doesn't really make sense because you were an adult at that time.
When I said that I knew they were around my age, I'm putting them in the between like the 15 and 18 age range, like the like Slimurrz' age range. That's what I thought. If I and like I've asked that question to myself before, like if I knew, would things have been different? I don't know. I don't fully understand all the ways in which I thought back then because I've buried it in my head. It's not something I'm proud of. I genuinely, if I knew he was 12, I don't know how I would have reacted. It could go either way. It could have stopped the whole thing. We could have been like, whoa, wait, hold on, pause, or it could have been like, oh, what the fuck, okay. But Zach had this friend called Snailyu, and whilst I want to preface, I did not have any interest in them, and I wasn't trying to like do anything with them. I still joked with them in a really inappropriate way, and I don't like that I did that. And I've heard the excuses from like other people I've talked to that seen this about my behavior, being like, oh, well, they were kind of like egging you on, or oh, like it's just cringe. I'm not okay with it. I'm not okay with like the things I said to her. And like if I could apologize, I hope she's okay. And I'm glad that those two did not have like any broader interactions with the server outside of like these early days. I'm genuinely like, I'm glad like it and God fuck, if you're gonna like break my brain if you like throw some curveball at me that they actually did continue to interact with the server. But as far as I'm aware, they only interacted with it before it was the Fruitcake Club. I feel weird about like the things I said to her. And I hope she's okay. I hope she grew up fine. I hope that like I'm like sorry that like I fucking did that. Cause like that went through my head and I was like, what the fuck was I thinking?
I wanted to ask about Snailyu now that we're on that topic. Were you aware that they were 13 when they joined the server?
Oh yeah, I was. Well, at some point I was. When I was joking with them, I was.
Then why did you flirt with them?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't give you a straight answer. It puzzles me. I don't know why I did that. I
You
feel
also
really
continued
weird.
to talk extremely sexually with them or around them when they were 13.
Yeah, I'm
Even
aware.
if we go to legalities, which was brought up before, that would be like an actual case right there. Though nothing ended up happening, but it is very predatory behavior, in my opinion.
No, it's concerning. I know it's concerning.
You
like,
hear, and the people who say that, they were egging you on, I don't see any of that in the screenshots, and I looked through all of the Snailyu logs in the FCK server, and a lot of the times it was you who started the conversation, and it ended very weirdly, or they were just vibing in the background and kind of answering what you guys were doing. So if you guys were spamming titties, they would like add to that. They would do that too, and most of it
No.
pretty much started.
The person that when they said like when I heard someone say, "Oh, hey, they're egging you on," they're referring to being like, "Oh, that's legal, but I've done worse. Oh, I'd have to tell my harem about it." Like, kind of like engaging with it. But even then, I don't like that it happened. Even then, like, you're right, it's weird fucking behavior. I don't like that it happened. Like, I look back at it and I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like, why did I do this? And I didn't even remember that I did it. And like, obviously, I don't have an interest in. I'm not attempting to have any kind of relationship with them. But like, I don't like that I was joking around like that. Like, I don't like that I don't like it. Right? Like, if I could apologize to them, I would. But like, I'm assuming they don't want to hear anything from me. They don't. I'm sure they don't want any kind of involvement.
They don't want
in this.
anything to do with this whole thing. They're in fact still a minor, by the way.
And like, I'm sorry about that. Like, I wish it didn't happen. I hope they're okay. I can't. There's only so much I could give to it. Like, that's all I can say about it. Like, there's only so much I can give you when in terms of this.
So I asked some of the other people. I talked to specifically to Doodle, Toast, and Nezzy, and I asked them if they knew Snailoo's age while they were in the server. They didn't. But they said that if they had known that such a young person was in there, they would definitely not have conducted themselves the way they did, right? The difference here is that you knew, but you still continued to post a lot of degenerate, extremely fetishized content and porn, even after knowing that they were in the server. So
I forgot about them. Like, they exited my brain as soon as they entered. The fact that like I didn't even like remember that this even happened until it got brought back up. Like, I forgot. Like, and like, sure, there's probably like an overlap where I did remember and I still conducted myself in that way, but I'm not proud of it. Like, ultimately, this is just something I want to like get off my chest and like move clean from.
So you say that, but my question is, would you have ever even talked about this if it wasn't brought up publicly?
I didn't even remember it happened. I didn't even remember it existed.
Okay.
So no, because I didn't realize this was even a thing
I'm talking
until
in
it
general,
got brought up.
like in general about the FCK server.
When I think back, because I remember there's like a period of time where like I still thought about shit, and when like during the points in time when I would like think back on my past, it was mostly like, hey, I don't like what Peaches did. Hey, I don't. This is It was more in like my relationships with other people, and then when it came to like back like when I only started making content like I guess a year ago, and it was mostly for other people. To some of them, I told them like, hey, this is the thing that happened in my past. I didn't go into like in crazy detail, but I still told them this is like I was a different person back then, and it was kind of weird. But when I like during those like interlude periods, it was very like my memory was only focused on like two people essentially. When I thought back on FCK, it was like, oh, some funny shit happened in there, and that was it. Oh, and I guess like I didn't have a lot of memories or feelings towards it because it was just a server that died down, and then I'd revisit it like a year and be like, okay, it's still here, whatever, and then I'd walk away.
I'm just gonna ask straight up. Are you a lolicon?
No, I don't even like consume porn that much.
Are you a zoophile?
No.
Do you consider yourself to be a pedophile?
No.
What about a groomer?
No.
Can you see how a lot of these things that I just mentioned can be titles attached to your name due to your behavior in this server?
Yes.
You posted a lot of zoophilia art in the server, and you tagged people into it. You posted a lot of lolicon art that you criticized later Bentaluni for. You also talked sexually in front and with minors in the server. I think personally, you being called out is completely fair. And I don't know if that is something that you can just explain away. Like, who does, like, I don't understand who does that. I've been 18 once. It never occurred to me even to post porn around even someone 2 years younger than me, let alone 5. And the excuse of, oh, I was 18, when people brought this to your attention before, like Akumu. I just don't personally see that as like an explanation to it.
By this point, you had been educated, you had been through school. Sex education was a thing, you were informed of it. The dangers of online predation would have been taught in school as a class.
And you
These
seem
are
to have been like self-aware, where you were like, oh, I'm getting arrested. Oh, I shouldn't be talking to minors. Oh, I'm already 18. This shouldn't be happening. This is a guilty pleasure. This is a rape. This is a lolly reverse rape. It's like you're sexualizing it. So I don't know. You might say it's all edgy humor, but I'm having a really hard time just taking that as face value.
There is one more point, just to add on to that before you respond. It wasn't just within the FCK server. I'm sure we'll go into your own server, but from what I've seen from the Timework server, when you were in it in 2020, you would consistently bring up, not consistently, but at parts you would bring up sexual topics, like asking for people's age of consent, bringing up Futanari. That server is the most safest looking server in the entire world due to its content behind it being so generic and so family friendly. And you were a moderator in that server, and you would still bring up these topics to a place where you knew there were minors. You were at points warned by other staff that there were minors, and then as soon as the mother moderator walked away, you said, yeah, but I still really like Futa. So it goes further than just a space where this is an enabled behavior. This goes out to a much more public sense.
You did bring that up. I don't even think I remembered I did that. But like, I believe you.
What is your response to people putting these titles on you?
At some point, I stopped. At some point, I kind of realized that, like, a lot of my behavior was really, like, was self-destructive and dangerous, and I moved away from it. Like, this, now, it's, like, I don't fuck around with it. Like,
when you say self-destructive, what do you mean? Do you mean pertaining to yourself?
Oh, myself and the people around me. Like, this isn't just a me thing. This was, like, I essentially, like, broke myself, by just being, like, there, by, like, interacting with, like, in the way that I did. I didn't know I did that in the Timework server. Because I remember really caring about, like, there was a change in mindset at some point where I was like, but between the point in which I did that and in which I was like, oh, there's a lot of kids in here. I need to, like, really make sure that, like, nothing crazy happens in here. Because I remember that mindset change. And I remember it being, like, a point in time in which I still kind of interacted in that server.
Why did you sexually harass almost everyone around you?
Can you go into more detail?
Dizzy Monster said to me that when I interviewed them, that their first interaction with you was you asking their bra size, and that they were very much taken aback by that, because it was their first introduction to you. You've also multiple times drawn or ask someone to draw futanari-fied characters of other people's OCs. For example, you created a futanari version of Mad Libs, and for those who don't know what futanari is, you basically gave them a dick, basically, which is like a sexual fetish thing. And if I look back on the logs, there were situations where out of nowhere you would just bring up sexual topics, as well as when I asked and interviewed the minors that were present in the server, they said that you would consistently, if not exclusively, talk about sex, teach them about masturbation. You had server rules that people had to tell if they're a virgin or not.
Oh my god, that shit was so weird. No, I do remember that.
Yes, and then you would talk about your sex life, you would talk to them about them losing their virginity. There was also server roles for people who had big titties and those who had small titties, and one of the minors was given the small titty role. Just a lot of inappropriate content like that absolutely should not be okay, especially when there are minors present. Like, it's so important for us to like realize there is a power dynamic here. At that time, you were a respectable creator, even though you didn't have a big platform. You were still that guy or that person, and you were one of the reasons and one of the pillars holding up the FCK group. And kind of when you left is when things fell through and it didn't stick together. So there's a lot of responsibility that falls on you, and I feel like you took advantage of that and the kids that were there.
I have two things to say about that. Because when you want to say that like I'm a pedophile, I'm a groomer, you're saying that my intention was to get something sexually out of it. The reality is I didn't have impulse control, and I wasn't attention. I wanted attention, and I just did not have any sense of impulse control. So anything I just thought, I just said. And that's as bluntly as I can give it to you. Because if I had like intention to like sexually take advantage of someone like for my own pleasure, there would be like, I'm pretty sure it would have been brought up by now that there would be like a genuine advance that was like me like making a sexual advance towards someone to get something that I want. And I'm assuming there isn't any of that, right?
Oh,
My
sorry.
point
Go ahead.
before Thumin goes into theirs would be, for example, as simple as the way you would go about utilizing the Santi Cheeks Ginex Cockfor image, where you would specifically ask Slimurrz, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but specifically to say the name before you would say the image. Send the image. It was intentional requesting them to say it before you presented the image before them. That could be an example of that, where you are requesting that people engage in this sexual topic with you in return of you sending something sexual. That would be one.
You're saying that like, so let me clarify real quick. So you're saying when it came to the fucking Sandy fucking image, Hoji basically being like saying the name and then I give that over is like an example of that?
I would say it would be.
It's a bit. I don't agree. Like, because I've never really felt any like romantic or sexual attraction to her. We joked with each other sexually a lot, and we talked about sexual topics. That's the thing that we did. How do I say it? But like to say that like I'm looking to like get nudes or like get some sort of sexual action out of someone, I was looking for attention. That is like that was my underlying motivation for like a lot of my behavior is just no impulse control. I would just say or do whatever, and then I want attention. And is that really fucking stupid and childish? Yes. And it created a lot of this. I will admit.
Obviously, you know Team Ancilia, right?
I don't want her brought up. I know what she said to you. I want her out.
So,
Mhm.
in their community post, they said that a creator called Galaxy is okay saw what you had been through and brushed it off. Was everything shared with this person, or is this another case of not everything being told?
I don't know who this person is.
Interesting.
But like I talked to her and like I convinced her to like kind of I've left her server. I've convinced her to like someone else convinced her and then we talked about it and then we agreed that she should like not like what she said is kind of like it's a little bit of participation and we kind of like she's changed her stance. How should I say this? I don't want her involved in this. I don't want her dragged into this. I don't want anyone else dragged into this other than me. Because I'm the only one that deserves to like have to suffer for this. I don't want like I know people have said like when you went out and you went to go like dig they go tell them about this. I know they you didn't get the reactions that you were probably looking for. But I don't want them to I don't want to drag anyone else down with me. That's my point.
I think
That's
there's
the
a
whole
difference between an aggressive response to realizing that your friend has done stuff in their past that is horrible, and flat out defending it, and dismissing people in the FCK, the children inside of the FCK, what they went through. I think that's appalling. And if these people are not fully aware of what had happened, I think you need to explain this to them and then let them truly come to their own opinion about what they decide to do in terms of staying with you. If you truly wish to move on from this, I think that you need to do that.
Yeah, that seems doable. The thing I gave them before was to the best of my understanding, because like I did not want to re-engage with this community. I did not want to be a part of it in any way because I remember just kind of what I went through, what it did to me, including like the things that I did. And what I gave them was, hey, this is what I remember I did. This is what I remember was going on. And the reason I'm here is so that I can get like the direct like truth, like from someone that doesn't that isn't my friend, so that I can like go back, reassess, assess my position, and be like, okay, now I have like, because the ultimate goal is to be like, I want to give someone like the community like something that everyone can move on from rather than continue like fight. You know what I mean? Like everyone deserves to move on from this shit.
I feel like I agree that people need to move on, but I also feel like you don't really understand the gravity of the situation. Can you really move on from grooming someone or putting children as young as 12 to 13 years old in a server and then spam a bunch of porn in there to the point where some of them get so like desensitized to it that they end up getting groomed in the future? You know what I mean? It's just like, I guess you can. I'm not gonna stop you from creating content, but there's also the thing that if you want to go into VTubing and continue creating content that kids might enjoy, that it could put them in danger in the future. We don't know. Like, we don't know. We only know you from the actions we've seen from before. And one thing that I know is that the past behavior predicts future behavior. I'm sure
Well-
maybe you've grown, maybe you're different, but also you told us just like a moment ago that you just lie sometimes. How do I not know? How can
That
I
was
take any
in
of your
that was-
words seriously?
That was 18-year-old me back when I was fucking insane. That's not me now. If that clears it up. That's like, I'm being honest with like the person I was then. There has been like a whole chapter of my life that has passed. Does that, I hope that clears that up. I know I said that to you, but like I said that to you to like clarify that I wasn't all there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There is another aspect, and that is how long it's taken to get you to this point of speaking to people. Not even necessarily people talking to you in a voice call, of you saying anything, because to our knowledge, the only statements you have ever made is privately to people, to friends, sending your email out to talk to people and the likes. There's never been a public statement. You had simply ran away from what you had did. And I think you know that what you did was wrong, and even back then, and you just did not want to face the music.
There is an extent of truth to that, but I want to get a timeline clear. Are we talking a year ago, or are we talking 4 years ago?
I'm talking about the entire time. I'm talking a timeline of when everything was happening, when everything came to light, and people was really starting to pay attention to this, to the 5 years that's elapsed since that entire, or even longer than that, because, you know, like, it's taken people looking for you, and the issues being faced at you head on, and it going into your personal friend groups, and it affecting you there to say anything, like for you to come forth and say anything about anything that you have done in the past.
It's because I can't prove everything that I went through back then, but it was because like when I did not want any kind of interaction with people from the past. And I'm not very public. I do videos for other people. I used to. I don't do it anymore. I don't do a lot of like, once that came out, I stopped kind of working publicly. All I do is stream to a small group of people, and I don't really expand out of it very much. I don't take advantage of growth that I could be having because I don't want it. Like, I'm at a size where I don't want to get bigger. And like, I'll give it, like, I can give it up. I'm okay with giving it up for now. Hold on, let me retrace, because I got off topic. So I'm gonna answer your question holistically. When I was 19 and what happened between me and Teddy kind of concluded, I kind of decided it's time for me to leave. Like, this is my time to leave. Because I didn't want to hang out around there. I wanted to be a different person. I wanted a different life. I didn't, and additionally, I gave her a promise, and I intended to keep it. I didn't want to like have her like be in a community where like we could fight again. I didn't want the fight that happened between me and Teddy to ever happen again. So I chose to be like, I'm gonna go a different down a completely different path. I'm gonna go choose something different with my life. And then I did that. 3 years later, this comes back out again, and I get sexually assaulted, and it sucks. And there is like no emotional position. Like, the emotional state I was in was really like fucked up, and like there was like no way I was ever going to make a response that was going to be any sort of like helpful, or like not fueled by like some desire for revenge, if that makes sense. So I didn't. until like I re-entered like a more stable state. And by the time I did, I kind of looked at it, and everyone around me was being like, "This shit's died down. Who cares? Like, you should move on. Everyone else is moving on. You don't really need to respond. You should move on." And I took their advice. A lot of like my decision making, at least at this point, in that point in time, was kind of based around listening to the other people in my life, being like, "This is what you should do," and I was like, "That sounds about right. I guess I'll do that." And it wasn't until recently did I like kind of shut all of that out and be like, "Okay, what do I want to do? This is what I want to do. I'm gonna go do that." And that's why I'm here. People like the people that are currently in my life, they're not gonna like that I'm here. Like, everyone's advised me to do something different. This is the decision that I wanted to do because this is what's going to help me, and this is what's going to make me move on. Like, part of it, like a lot of it, is self-interested. Because like I want to be able to effectively bury it so that I can go like live a life, essentially.
I think that's
hope-
very selfish of you to think you could just bury something that you were actively a part of that actually like harm actual kids.
Mayhaps you could be right there, but at the same time, this is how I see concluding it, is being here.
Why did you like feel comfortable to sexualize the people around you so much, that to the point where they have to confront you and say, "Hey, your behavior is not okay. You need to stop sexualizing and sexually harassing people"?
Can you give me the specifics?
Do you remember having a conversation with Nizzy Master?
What time frame?
Give me 1 second, I'll send it to you. This was like after the whole Ben thing, when Nizzy was trying to basically save their own ass, right? And they like confronted you, they compared you to V Omega, they said that you sexually harassed Madlips. The person's name that we censored here is Madlips. And there was like this whole conversation thread that they had with you about your behavior.
I do remember this. I don't remember all of it. I guess I have it now. But I do remember.
Do you agree with the fact that you sexually harassed people, or are you contesting it?
Let me get my thoughts together before I say anything about that. I think I didn't understand what I was doing at that point in time, and then I came around to realize what I was doing. Because when I was approached by her at this point in time, it kind of became, it was shocking. It was like, okay, this is kind of out of nowhere. I don't understand where this is coming from, because it's like something I'm finding out about months later, which I kind of understand. Well, if you want to, so when we say sexual harassing, or are we talking about Madlips specifically?
And Nizzy.
Okay.
Like, would you say that you often commented on people's bodies, their sexuality, make throwaway comments like that would make them feel uncomfortable?
I can agree with that, yeah.
Would you often,
and if you want to,
let's say you found out someone was trans, would you refer to them as a futanari twink or something like that?
are we talking about Lucy?
Yeah.
Let me think real quick. Because I was an egg then, and I had feelings like about my sexuality, about my gender that I didn't understand. And that probably came out to Lucy in a very weird fucking way. But either way, it's like, if I got called
felt
that,
fetishized. They felt
yeah, I'm just
sexualized.
letting you through like my current mental process right now, like how I'm currently processing it. Like, if I got called that, I probably wouldn't be very happy with it. I'd probably block them. So here's the thing. All right, and I'm gonna pull out some screenshots because I want to talk about my relationship with these people. And when it comes to like comments like this, I think they have every reason to, they have every reason to feel like they were being sexually like harassed, but at the same time, they did shit to me too. And when I got uncomfortable with it, like they made fun of me. In a specific instance, with Lucy, we were comfortable enough with each other where we just said offensive shit to each other, and like we poked those holes at each other. And there were like moments where Lucy like made weird sexual jokes to me that I wasn't really comfortable with. And when I like expressed discomfort, she just kind of made fun of me for it. This is just one example of it. Like, it's not something I want to like be like, oh, I don't want to like come out and be like, oh, Lucy sexually harassed me or some shit like that. Because the way I see it, me and Lucy did the shit to each other because we didn't really set great boundaries with each other. So we broke those boundaries a lot. That's just for me and Lucy though. For Livy, I saw it as a joke, but I don't think that's okay. I think she has like, if she looks back at it and she thinks, oh, that shit was really weird.
They told you the same. They told you immediately that they weren't comfortable with it. Same with Nezzy. According to Nezzy, allegedly, I don't know if they are lying or not, but Nezzy said that when you commented on her chest size or asked about it, they refused and put that boundary down immediately, is what they said. So it's not that people didn't communicate, it's that even after they communicated, boundaries were crossed. Is the consensus here?
Yeah, I could concede on that. However, I would need to do more thinking on it because I remember being treated in a similar way. And
so it was like the server culture was like that, is what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And because like I showed you the screenshot where they're all like fucking like downing Lucy, get in this VC, we'll do this, Lucy, get in this VC. That's kind of what the culture was. And like it was more than me that contributed to it overall. But I feel weird about it. Like I look back at it and I'm like, why did I like handle myself in this way?
If we can
and like
no, go ahead.
And like the excuse, like the reasoning of the hows this happened is just keeps coming back to I just didn't have like impulse control, and I just didn't think about like what I was doing when I was doing it, or just think about how it made other people feel.
How do you feel if your 15-year-old sibling was in a server with someone, or these type of people, normalized to sex, encouraged to draw porn, constantly in this type of environment?
Mm-hmm.
How would that make you feel? Would you think it's okay?
I don't even think you would have to bring up that example. I think me, as a 23-year-old adult, because I've seen shit like this, and it pisses me off. Because not only like because like I'm like naturally against it now, but like shit, I went through it. Like I was a person like that. I don't want more people like that to exist. Like here, hold on one second, let me pull something up.
I want to go back to what we talked about before, regarding the virginity role. So a lot of the minors told me that they were given this role, and in the VCs you would talk about the losing of virginity, how to pleasure yourself. Did this happen?
It's the virginity thing?
In VCs,
I don't know.
Did you talk about sexual topics with these minors? Specifically the virgins.
Hold on one second. My head's going like all over the place. I'm getting a little dizzy. Let me think. Can we just like keep it to one? Because you kind of like threw three things at me,
Yeah,
and like,
sure.
okay, so the virginity fucking thing. I think it's weird. I look back at it, and I feel the same things that I feel when I look back at a lot of these things. Is that what the fuck was I doing? Like, what the fuck was I thinking? This shit's weird. That one was a joke. It didn't mean there's no overarching goal I'm trying to achieve with that. If I can make that at least clear.
But in the VCs, did you ever
Hmm?
give advice to these so-called virgins on how to pleasure themselves, how to lose virginity, how sex feels like? Did these conversations happen from you?
I mean, are you gonna throw a screenshot at me? I feel like I may be walking into a trap.
Just be honest about it. If you don't remember, you
Well-
don't remember. If you remember, you remember.
I don't remember the conversation happening. However, using information about myself that I had, being hypersexual, being no impulse control, and also just being a virgin, like, there's no sexual experience I could tell them about. There's
The
no.
lawyer said that you told them about a lot of sexual experiences and that you told them that you were not a virgin and that they were lame that they were virgins and you would shame them about it.
Well, I was a virgin, first of all. But I don't think that detail matters.
So did
I
you
think the
lie
point-
to them to pretend to be cool?
Yeah, that seems about correct. That seems like a thing at the time I would lie about.
In my opinion, we can move on to Teddy, but just in case things heat up and I forget, I just want to ask, like, what, like, do you think you still deserve a platform? Why not?
Well, do you see me as a well, first of all, do you see me as a person with a platform? Do you think just having a Twitch channel and just streaming occasionally is the equivalent of having a platform?
I do.
Yes.
I believe so, yeah. And
Okay, I
my
think
thing is
we can
this, right?
we can agree on that.
I personally don't care what you do. However, after speaking to the victims involved, after speaking to the then kids that are now adults, multiple of them, almost all of them have agreed. Everyone except Hoji has agreed that they feel extremely uncomfortable with you having a platform. But at the end of the day, I'm not one to support deplatforming. However, I feel like with you, so many, like, your behavior has ticked so many of predatory boxes that I don't think you should have online presence, but it's really up to you.
Well,
at the end of the day.
let me throw this at you, right? I didn't get back into it until I felt that I was kind of like ready to, and then when I decided to, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it differently. When I returned into it, it was with the mindset of I'm going to do this correctly because I know how to do it correctly and I know what I'm doing this time. And it wasn't immediate. It was like I made content for other people. And then it was, okay, I'm going to go help other people like do this. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to have a Twitter, I'm going to have a Twitch. I'm going to have a website where like I kind of slowly build this resume. And I'm going to go stream with my friends. I'm going to keep this low. I'm not going to make anything out of it. I do not see myself, nor do the people around me, see any of these behaviors in myself anymore. These are things that don't exist in me anymore. Therefore, they can be uncomfortable with it, but I am actively not anywhere near them. They do not have to interact with me. They do not have to come, like, they don't even get to like see me accidentally because I'm somewhere entirely different. That's my take on it, is that I became a different person and I decided I wanted to try it again, but on a small scale, and I don't want to interact with them. I went somewhere else to make something nice and do something positive.
Two of the victims are VTubers currently. So you
I'm-
do share.
I don't
you
I
share
do
a
not
community together.
I do not interact with the VTuber community. If I do, it's kind of barely, and I'm not out there as a VTuber. I interact with Paradox creators. It's a hyper autistic grand strategy type game. Like I know they are VTubers, but I do not interact in their spaces. Does that kind of make sense?
Why are you still friends with Hoji?
Why am I still friends with Hoji? Can we not talk about it? Because I don't want people to use it against her.
I think it's inappropriate for you to still continue to have a relationship with them. In fact, it could even be seen as grooming.
Well, that's a decision between me and her. Ultimately,
That perception is not between you and her.
Do you see how it could be grooming?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish your statement because I'm still thinking.
Okay. I will lay out quite flatly. You have, over the last 5 years, probably longer, since the time that you have known them, since they were 14 years old and you were an adult.
They were 15.
Sorry, 15 then.
You're good. Yeah, it's okay.
15. And you have known them for a long time now. You have interacted and enabled their sexual behavior. You have engaged in sexual topics with this person. You have consistently done that with this person over the years, and added in the enabling of that behavior to this person when they were a child, all the way up until now, and you still continue contact with them. That is how that can be seen as grooming. I don't know if Thumin has anything additional they want to say on that, but that is, from what I have seen, that is how I would classify that as you.
Well, let me bring this up with you. Do you think that the age gap between me and Hoji, which is 2 years, 11 months, is a big enough age gap?
It's 3 years.
We can round it up to 3. Is a large enough age gap in which I could take some sort of advantage?
Absolutely. Yes.
Because their brain is still. I know there's a whole thing of the brain developing, only finishing developing at the age of 20, along those points. But
it's 25.
At that age,
continue.
But at that age, they are still highly undeveloped in what they can recognize as right and wrong. They are still learning the ways of the world at the very smallest minimum degree. As a child, right? They had experienced being manipulated in the past, and then that they had been put into what they thought was a safe place, and that behavior was continued. And to circle around to what you did say, yes, this difference is not acceptable in terms of age.
If it was you 23, you met them when you were 23 and they turned 20, then it's 2 adults meeting and having a consensual relationship. But when it's a 15-year-old, someone that just turned 15 in their formative years, still a child, and someone that is in their late teens, turned 18, it's completely different type of power dynamic. And honestly, I think it's completely inappropriate. After talking with Hoji as well, or after talking with Slimurrz, the things that happened in the FCK server negatively impacted them a lot. They informed me that they have had they have gotten groomed by other adults in their life because they thought that talking sexually with adults was okay because of the fact that in the FCK server it was so normalized. So I think personally it's a completely inappropriate relationship. I think it can be seen completely grooming because I don't believe that, especially someone that was sexual and constantly like promoted sexual activity of them when they were in their formative years, still a child, considered a child, and you're a young adult. I think that there, like, the power imbalance between maturity is the factors in that. It was like it's a predatory relationship, and I'm very confused why you, as the then adult, and even now the older person continue to have that relationship? Is it because you want them to not come after you or talk about you, and you think that you just like having the relationship there keeps them silent, or you've grown attached to them? I don't know, but my advice honestly is that you should cut that relationship off, and if Hoji isn't mature enough to do that, you sure as hell should be. And I believe that it is a very predatory relationship and can be even considered grooming. And I hope you see the reasoning behind that.
When you say
age.
grooming,
There you
I
go.
want you. We probably have different definitions. I want you to like really give me like what you think it is, so that we're on the same page with that.
I believe it's a predatory relationship. And I think that there is sexual grooming here also at play, because when they were 15, you had asked them multiple times to draw you porn and pornographic material as an adult. They were a minor. Now we can talk about semantics, that the age of consent here, that da da da, but honestly it's still inappropriate. And anywhere, like I can say in this country is age of consent is 10 years old, therefore it's okay. Nah, it's still wrong. It's morally wrong. So I believe
I'm not.
asking like a 15-year-old to draw you porn and then continue to have a relationship with them after is nothing other than like grooming-esque behavior and predatory behavior. Now you might not have intention with them and you might not want to date them, but it still is that, like based on facts and what has happened.
So you define grooming as just a set of behaviors. When you
It's a set of behaviors that you tick boxes of it. Of course, there's nuance to the situation as well.
Because when you accuse me of that, what I'm hearing is the way my brain is processing it is that I'm doing these things with the intention of getting something out of it, like some sort of sexual gratitude, like some sort of sexual like favors or gratitude. Like that is what I like. That's what I'm perceiving the accusation as. That's why I need to.
The difference here that I'm trying to tell you is that intent and intentions doesn't matter in certain situations. The actions do. The actions that have been taken here is that you, when you were an adult, were sexual or asked sexual favors or drawings from them. When they were young, you talked sexually around them, with them, and fostered a community where that was normalized. And now that has like passed, you continue having a relationship with them. So it's not just what you think is happening or what your intent is. You might have like whatever intentions, but at the end of the day, what you have done and the actions speak for themselves. You know what I mean? Now we can make a poll and ask anyone and say, is this grooming, is it not? And at the end of the day, people will not look at what you're thinking or what your intentions are. They're looking at what happened, what has taken place, the actions that were taken. Do they fall into the boxes of grooming? You know what I mean? And even if it's not even if it's not factually grooming, which I personally think that it does fall into that, it could still be seen as very predatory behavior.
I think the relationship. I don't want it to be public because I don't want people to use it as a weapon against her, because I know there's people that are willing to do that. The relationship between me and her has been one that has been like, it started out bad. We addressed it, and then we chose to have a relation. That's a choice between me and her at the end of the day. You can say that, oh, I don't think it's this, or I don't think it's that, but at the end of the day, that's me and her's adult decision. Do you get what I mean?
I absolutely understand what you mean, but I also want to inform you that if you do continue to have this relationship, there is a chance that it is considered grooming, and I personally believe that it is. It's an extremely inappropriate relationship, but I'm not gonna like stop you from talking to her, and she's an adult now, so if she wants to continue that relationship, I can't stop her from doing that. But I have told her this personally, and I have told her that, you know, whatever trauma bond you have with this person, or you can't let them go, it's not a relationship, honestly, that is good for you to keep. And I think for you, if you truly want to move on from this and you truly want to, you know, as you said, grow past this, one of the things you have to come to terms with is look at the facts, understand them, realize, okay, I have caused harm to this person, I have been sexual with them in their formative years, and now I want to continue a relationship with them. Look at the facts on the paper. What does that look like? What is it? If it was anybody else, would I consider this inappropriate? If the answer is yes, you need to cut that shit out. That's just me though. So I can't tell you what to do. But
I think we just disagree in that matter. Like, even me as an adult, I think, because we were both high schoolers, and you're probably going to disagree with that, shit like this happens in high school all the fucking time. I witnessed it in my high school. I know plenty of people who witnessed it in theirs. Am I saying it's correct? No, it's just shit that happens. But there have been periods where we just didn't talk to each other. This is the relationship that stopped, and then we got back together, we talked about it, and then we're like, okay, we can continue this. And ultimately, like, it's gonna be a disagreement. But if we're kind of at a roadblock there. There's no point in talking about it further. Would you like to?
There is one point on that, and that is, you say it happens in school. Blah, blah, blah. Do you know what happens when a lot of those relationships that can spring up inside of school with those types of age gaps, they are kept secretive? Because do you know what happens when other people in the school find out? They call that older person a nonce. They call them a pedophile. They call them someone abusing someone in a place of power. Even people in school recognize that. Now, I don't think it's just a magical echo chamber where, because I was in a British school growing up, that's magically changed from country to country. That is the facts. And I know we're going to keep going in circles on this, so that, like I said, this will be the last thing I'll say on it. I still think that is entirely flawed logic, and I do agree with Thumin. But if you feel like you want to make any change with this, and this conversation that we're having, I feel that you really do need to, once everything that we've talked about is done, that you have a very long think about what happened, and cut Slimurrz off. And again, I have no way of you doing that. That is something that you need to do, and whether or not you're going to take responsibility in doing that, and realizing that even if you did not have the intention, the actions did occur, and you need to disengage with it.
Okay.
But that's what I'll say on that.
I'm ready to move on to the last topic, which was
Is Teddy.
Yeah.
May I have opening statement? Me and Teddy's relationship was really fucking toxic and fucked up. And in my opinion, it was because of both of us. And as I've because the night before, I reread all of the fucking DMs. I reread everything I had, and it made me sad. I'll just be honest. I think that she has every right to feel like there was her boundaries were broken. That I kind of I was weird towards her in some ways. However, there were things that she did, and there were things that she claimed that weren't true, and I stand by a lot of the things that I used to say about her. I don't know. Is it okay if I kind of start from the beginning, and then I explain how I experienced this relationship before you ask your questions? Are you okay with that?
My question is just, before we get into any of that, is this relevant to the FCK server? Or is this interpersonal beef and drama?
Half of it is relevant. Well, maybe a fourth of it. But a lot of it is interpersonal.
In that
Especially...
case, we don't, we're not planning on covering interpersonal relationship stuff at all. We kind of want to just focus on the impact of the FCK server, how that impacted the people and the minors around everybody. So if it's relevant to that, I think, yeah, we can open that kind of worms. But if not, and it doesn't have anything to do with it, then I don't know. I wouldn't want to.
It's a tricky can of worms.
I wouldn't want to drag Teddy, who is one of the minors in the FCK server, one of the victims that it negatively impacted, to be brought up unless it has to do with the FCK server and it's relevant to the conversation. But even when I interviewed Teddy, we kept it pretty much on topic. They felt that you crossed boundaries with them. They felt like they were exploited, underpaid, and bullied once they finally left the server. And this was an accusation against you, as well as some of the other adults in the server.
Let me pull something up real quick.
So as far as Teddy goes, that's all of their involvement in this. Like, they're just a person that happened to be a minor in the server.
If I could find a solution in which I don't have to release anything against her, that would be ideal. I'm pretty okay with her just like going out there and just like saying whatever she wants to say about me, as long as she like just chooses to leave me alone. I don't have to really. I don't feel the desire to just release shit on her anymore.
When you say release shit, what do you mean? Like, about your toxic relationship?
Oh yeah, because I have plenty of things referring to that. Like, she did horrible things.
But
like,
how is that relevant to the?
That's what I'm saying. It's outside the scope.
So wait a minute. Are you like trying to say that you're not gonna? So if Teddy doesn't talk about you, you're not gonna release anything. But if Teddy talks about their experience in the FCK server, you're gonna like hold this over their head.
Well, she already did talk about her experience in the FCK server, and I didn't do anything. So
yeah, but she's allowed to talk about it as much as she wants. If she wants to talk about it every day, it's her prerogative. She's the one that was a victim of that server. I think whatever relationship drama that you guys have is completely irrelevant and inappropriate to even think about bringing up or holding it over anybody's head, because it's irrelevant to this whole thing. The question here is, was Teddy put in a situation where they were extremely normalized to sexual behavior in the FCK server? Yes. But you thought like bringing up a relationship because they're talking about their sexual trauma that they got from being in the FCK server. I don't agree with it. I think it's irrelevant, and I think it's kind of abusive to even say that.
Well, what part of that about that is abusive?
It's like, oh, let me discredit this person, look at this and that. Therefore, their experience in this server is irrelevant.
We know you've had sexual topics with them in private messages. Does that then extend into your own personal relationship then? And then because of that, you're now going to hold this over their head when they have to talk about it? If they ever feel like they need to talk about their own personal relationship with you as it pertained to the time frame of FCK and their experiences that may have happened around that time, and the fact that your interactions with them in FCK would have extended into DMs and then shaped your relationship with them, leading to more problematic discussions to occur within side of your private conversations with them. And what? Because they may ever need to in some future or near future, if they ever felt like they needed to put that out into the public, you're gonna threaten to attack them over it.
Yeah, like it's like a narcissistic behavior. That's what narcissists do. It's like, oh, this ex-partner of mine, like I have proof of them like being toxic to me, so if they ever talk about the abusive things that happened to them, I'm gonna show people these things. Like, can you see how that looks like that?
I wanted to do that.
Because like I said, personal relationship have nothing to do with the FCK situation. The fact that you had like, that you were posting lolly, we're talking sexually around minors, we're being very inappropriate towards all age groups, whether it's 12 to 17, whatever the case may be. That is the question. That's why I wanted to talk to you. That's why I called you here. You know what I mean? So if
Mhm.
Teddy continues to talk about that, Teddy doesn't. It's not like Teddy's gonna make a video about a relationship with you. That's not what they're talking about. But when I interviewed them, they just wanted to get the thing across that this server and your involvement in the server scarred them. You understand? So you kind of being like, well, I have all these screenshots of us having this personal relationship that I'm gonna put on blast, is kind of trying to silence the victim.
Let me take like a moment, because like I'm a little overwhelmed right now, and I need to like kind of think of real quick. And again, this is why I waited so long, because like if I make a response and like included something in it that I shouldn't have because I'm angry, that's not the response I want to make. That kind of
I
kind of
think the
process
most
that.
important thing is to stay relevant to the issue at hand, what the problem actually is. The problem isn't you guys' personal relationship. That's not where the question mark is. The question mark is the bigger picture. You understand?
Yeah.
That's why I said there's interpersonal relationship matters are completely irrelevant. You showing me that Teddy's saying that this, that, and the third only goes to show, oh, I'm trying to discredit this person so that they won't be taken seriously in the future.
Can I bring up a point about like cycles of violence per se?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to tell you this because I want you to sympathize with me. I'm telling you this to like show a snowball effect per se. When I was 16, pretty close in proximity to this, there was a woman in my life that was in her 30s. She had a kid. This woman started this relationship with me by sending me nudes, and I told her I didn't like that. So she lied to me and then said, "Oh, I got them off Google." This relationship continues. I'm gonna speed through this as quickly as I can, but I want to be thorough with it. This woman then proceeded to groom me into being comfortable with her masturbating in front of me, comfortable with her pressuring me into like sex and shit. And then she took this relationship and then brought it to other people in my friend circle. So she did it to the other people I was with. I am not telling you this because I want you to sympathize with me. I have a point to make here. From that point, including all the other interactions I had with adults at that point in time, all of that was like, I walked away from that with everything being normalized to me, and then with all of whatever psychological damage comes with that. And I walked into this experience bringing that with me, and I also still want to clarify, I am not making this as a justification. I have sat here and I have looked at my own actions, and I have felt the shame, and I felt the holy fuck, why did I do this? Of all of it. And I haven't denied it with. Do you feel like I've denied anything that I've done with you? Or, excuse me, let me reword that. Do you feel like I denied who I was with you, or like tried to like.
I feel like you try and like minimize it a little bit.
Naturally, that is in my interest
like, minimize.
to do.
The only answer to all of this is just, I was wrong, this shouldn't have happened, and it will never happen again. But I feel like you're trying to justify.
I'm not telling you this to justify. I'm telling you this as a how. So that, like, I can, like, illustrate how something like this even happens. I've talked to my parents about this, and they had something interesting to, like, kind of bring up, where they say, what they told me, or at least what my mom told me, was that, when, like, give me one moment. I need to find my words.
Yeah. You were 16, you said, when that happened?
Yeah, and this woman was in her 30s.
Do you see how when we say then when Slimurrz is 15 and you guys are sending stuff like that, how can that like psychologically damage them?
Oh, I'm fully aware of it because I pieced this together. I'll continue my story and then I'll go back to the point I was saying. I brought all of that into this part of my life, when this new part of my life when I started making content, and that continued the cycle of violence onto other people. it happened to me, and when it happened to me, I carried something dangerous that spread to other people. And I still did that. But the comfort I get is knowing I didn't do it because I wanted to hurt people. I did it because, like, I was continuing a cycle of violence that I was subjected to. And that cycle spread to other people. And, like, yeah, I hate that. I hate that happened. Sorry, I'm kind of spacing out for a second. Let me get back to Earth.
What did you like
But,
realize? Come to the realization. Okay, that was fucked up. That what I went through. Did you realize this in like therapy or
This with 32-year-old? This happened while I was friends with these people. Like, I very vividly remember going up to, like, I think it was Libby, and being like, hey, this happened to me. I don't think that was okay. And then being like, I think I should go, and like my response to that was to like go back and like fucking try to get her like removed from her moderation position, because she did it to other people. And I went back to that server, and I went to the server owner, and I was like, hey, this is what happened to me. Hey, she's done this to other people. Hey, blah 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 blah. And then they were like, oh, and then they removed her from mod, banned me from the server, put her right back. Fucking bastards. But that's beyond the point. It's beyond the scope. My point is, because that happened to me, I carried it with me without really knowing that I was carrying it with me. And I what's the word I'm looking for? Subjected it onto other people.
I'm gonna pause you right there because I think you didn't really answer the question, or you may have half answered it. So you say that you realized that this was a bad thing during the time that you were in communication with people inside of FCK.
That's when I started. Oh no, hold on. I
'Cause
feel
you
like
said
you're
you
mincing.
You said you went to. Did you say Mrs. Who did you say you went to?
I went to someone. I don't want to like throw a name out. Like, you can go back and like see the name, but like I'm now kind of realizing I probably shouldn't have thrown a name out there without being certain. But I talked to people about it, cause like, and I know I did because in my like fucking forever reservoir of screenshots, I see myself talking about it. When?
When?
Let me find it. Oh.
When did you realize that this was a horrible thing? Because you named one of the people in FCK.
That happened to me.
You named one of the. You went to one of the people, and you just then you named one of the people in FCK that you'd spoken to. That
About
this
it.
experience that had happened to you. So did this happen during the time that FCK was about, when you were in FCK?
Okay, wait. Let's be specific here. I don't want to mislead you. Are you talking about when fucked up shit happened to me that I
When you
carried along?
realized that it was a horrible thing, and that you went ahead and talked to people about it.
This was, and I threw a name out there, but I probably shouldn't have, because I'm not sure who I talked to, but I knew I talked to that group. I know that these are the people I was talking to at the time. I talked to this group. And this happened like May. And that's when I kind of started to like process that specific trauma.
May
And
2020.
yeah, roughly.
So during the time of FCK, you made a realization that when the thing that happened to you was a thing that shouldn't have happened, and you were normalized the sexual behavior, and you realized it was a.
I didn't realize all of it. I only realized that what happened to me shouldn't have happened.
But you realized that it was something that shouldn't happen.
Yes.
And
But
and please let me finish. But it still continued. But can you understand the hypocrisy of you realizing that you went through this horrible thing, and you realized then and there in 2020 during the time of FCK that this was something that shouldn't have happened, and yet these similar behaviors still occurred inside of FCK that you participated in, and you normalized to other people, including other minors who were younger than you. And you had basically, talked about the cycle of hate, or whatever it was, whatever metaphor
violence.
you used, the wheel of violence, and yet you participated inside of that same violence when you had come under the realization at that point in time that this was a horrible thing and no one should have to experience that, and yet you still did it. I don't think with this in mind that you can sit here and say, I don't think what I did was grooming. I don't think what I did was, I think I was like, I didn't think much of it at the time, because clearly you did. Clearly, given the experience from your own situation, you must have understood that this was not something that was okay, and yet you continued it. And you may have gone to this group inside of FCK and gone ahead and explained to them that it was a thing that had happened, and you can say the hypocrisy in that your group continued it, but you know about the hypocrisy within your group, considering the Bendaluni situation and how they were called out and ostracized from the FCK. You have continued to terminate that cycle whilst being aware that it was something that shouldn't have happened.
Hold on 1 second. When I said that this happened in May, that is the start of realizations. This person was twice my age, was like blackmailing me into sexual activity. What happened to me was extreme. What I inflicted back was not to the same degree, both in like power dynamics, nor in straight up blackmailing someone to like do e-sex with you. When I reopened that in my head, those were the topics I was like kind of processing through, and they were extreme. So when I did look back into like a little bit what was going on, I had plenty of things, including the people around me and the people I was like interacting with, to like kind of reassure me that like what I was doing wasn't like as bad. Or let me find words. Excuse me. That's an art. I'm making a mistake in what I'm saying. Let me retrace my steps and like reapproach real quick. What I'm saying is, when I went through that, and like as I processed kind of that with my friends, there was no like the things that needed to be addressed as wrong weren't addressed. What got addressed in that point in time is I got blackmailed, and this person had a massive power dynamic over me that I didn't see. Not anything else. My scope into how I was abused was limited and expanded as I grew older, to eventually encompass the whole thing. It didn't immediately happen. That is the point I'm trying to make. Do you understand that?
What is like the overall kind of like point you were going for? I'm kind
You
of
mean
getting...
like the whole scope?
Yeah, no, I'm getting lost in the sauce. Like, what was the point that you brought it up, that you wanted to come across or bring across?
The when I got like fucking blackmailed and groomed.
Yeah.
My point is that because I went through that, I carried with me the ability to do that harm unto others without knowing it, and so I did. That was the point. It was to explain how. It was to explain a how. Not to give a justification, not to minimize. It is a explanation as to how something like this can happen. And if you have a how, you can have a prevention in some cases. Is that clear? I really do not want that to come across as a justification, because I don't want to justify anything I did back then.
Point is, it
But
should never like happen again. And if you want to right your wrongs, you should cut contact with one of the people that went through it. You know who? And
yeah.
Not go. Definitely not go after any of the victims. In any way, because at the end of the day, like, they're not talking about things like interpersonal stuff. They're specifically talking about what they went through in the FCK server, and I think it's completely morally wrong and corrupt if they're being held like this other irrelevant
And-
information over their heads so they can't talk about their experiences.
Can I address that one real quick?
Yeah.
I wanted to have this conversation before I made any public response, is so I don't make a mistake like that. Because I do not want to go on a revenge quest, which is something I'm susceptible to. Like, it's possible for me to do that. I have the ability within me, the motivation, because, like, looking back, fuck shit happened. I feel hurt. Therefore, it is a human response to want revenge. Excuse me, I lost my words again.
When you say revenge, are you talking about revenge in a sense where interpersonal drama revenge, or revenge that the story of the FCK was exposed to the public?
Interpersonal drama revenge. Just like the context while we're on.
Sorry that I have to cut you off, but the priority list here shouldn't be interpersonal relationship. It would be the grooming allegations, the pedophilic, predatory behavior in the FCK server, the zoophilia, the lolicon, the normalizing kids and minors to sexual behavior with a group of adult content creators in the art commentary community. That should be the number one thing in the list of trying to tackle something to focus on, not the interpersonal relationship with one of the minors. You know what I mean? Like, the priorities here, I don't know why they're like all wonky,
all over the place. It's all wonky because I am obviously viewing through a lens of pain. I'm viewing through a lens of pain. When I look back at this, what I remember is shit I went. There's like I remember how this hurt me. I remember how that hurt me. It's all wonky because the lenses I'm looking through are not the correct lenses. It's like when I said like why I didn't make an initial response. Like, too much shit going on in my brain, and like I was gonna make some stupid fucking response. I was gonna make everything worse, but I didn't really like fully know. I didn't have the full comprehension.
But you were in the
like,
server though. Of course you know what happened. You were there seeing it happen 4K first.
Yes, I was there, but I buried a lot of it in my head. This was something I adamantly wanted to, like when I was 19, I adamantly wanted to leave and never look back. So, and like I glanced back every so often. Like there's evidence of me just popping in and out.
Listen, I understand completely not remembering everything, but not remembering nothing, that's a whole other topic. You definitely like should remember the fact that you and the other adults were normalizing sexual stuff to minors. That is something that you definitely should remember, because there were so many of them. There's so many of the minors there, and then there was a lot of the ArtCC creators there as well. Allowing it to happen while preaching otherwise in their own platforms. So there's a lot of hypocrisy there that was also brought up, even with the Bentaluni stuff. Even with some people even created videos on you calling it out. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I don't remember one thing is one thing, but I don't remember nothing is one thing. Like, it's a completely different thing. My final words is that the victims are not happy about you making a comeback or having an online presence. You do with that as you please. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like you really need to like put things into perspective and look at what's actually like needs addressing. Teddy and you's relationship is not up for debate. It's not on the table for questions. Nobody's asking about that or looking at that as a problem. What is a problem though is everything that happened in the server. And your relationship with currently, for example, Hoji. Like, that is up for debate.
Did you say it's up for debate or not up for debate?
Well, if people find out that you're still in contact with them, then people will call you a groomer. Because that's something a groomer would do.
So this is my overall takeaway. Because ultimately, I've said this so many fucking times, but I'm gonna say it one more time to like really get the point. Ultimately, like, I'm here so that I can make better fucking decisions for any public response I do make. Like, I can make something that fits the goal of let's get everyone onto like the right track to fucking heal and move on, including myself, like everyone. I hope that this is a space where I am allowed to make mistakes, as in like where I can make mistakes in my rhetoric or make mistakes in what I say or argument or argumentative to get to that overarching goal. So I would appreciate, I don't know what your plan is with the recording, but I don't want it to like be like used like against me to say, oh, you're changing this. Oh, well, actually you said this, so we have reasons to believe this and this. Because I need to make mistakes to like, I need to like say things that may be selfish or maybe wrong or maybe destructive, while I have like a space where it doesn't go all the way out to the public and it has like what's the word, rupturing effects. Do you know what I mean? That was like my whole
I'm
was
not
the
really
whole point
following.
of me.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, okay, like remember, let me give you an example. Like the interpersonal relationship between me and Teddy and whatever I have with that.
Mhm.
Let's say I didn't have this conversation, and for whatever reason, I was under the impression that, like, I need to defend everything like my entire relationship with Teddy. Let's say, for the sake of that, I need to do that. That would have been a mistake, especially if her stance is, I only want to talk about the server. I only want to talk about this and that. Me expanding out the scope to discredit her or just to bring harm onto her would have been a mistake. And that would have been a mistake that would have been very easy for me to make if I didn't have this conversation with you.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So my point is, I appreciate having this space where I can be wrong without it having like become drama, if that makes sense. Lastly, I kind of want to be the only party involved. I have friends over here. I've told them the cliff notes of what happened. I'll probably, to the ones that probably care to listen, I'll probably tell them more. I'll tell them probably everything that we've discussed about and that I've processed. But at the end of the day, I do not want this to follow over into that. I don't want them to do any. I don't want them to deal with any of that. If anything, I'd want to leave and then be like, oh, she's gone now. And then life to continue on as normal over there. I don't want them dragged into. I don't want them dragged into a drama they have nothing to do with. Does that make sense? I have a worry that's going to happen,
At
or
the end of the day,
that
like,
is an inevitability.
we wanted to hear your like statement on the situation. I feel like we've got that now. So I don't see a reason personally to go like harass anyone or do anything like that. However, I do believe that if you do want to continue to have an online space, people around you should be aware that, you know what, I have this past. How you go about that is really up to you. I do believe people can grow up and change, but there's a lot of things even now that I think that you're doing that are wrong, and you're not really recognizing how bad.
Can you
Hoji Slimurrz.
I can understand that point of view, and
Like
I
think personally it's shocking even that you're still in contact with her. If you guys had a normal relationship without the whole sexual grooming or the sexual stuff when they were like young, that would be a different situation. I'm not saying you can't be friends with minors and then later have a healthy relationship, but the core of you guys' relationship started off corrupted. I don't think that is something that is appropriate to be continued. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I have one question. I don't know what you're gonna do with the recording. Could you let me know what you're gonna do with it?
What I'm going to do with the recording entirely depends on if you do agree that you give a a reasonable time frame for you to make a public statement, for you to keep us updated on said public statement, and for you to tell us when and where you're going to be putting it, and the details pertaining to that. That will depend on whether or not I just release the call before you have a chance to do that.
Okay. So, and then after that, are you going to release the call?
Most likely.
And there we have it. I know that was a difficult 4 hours to listen to. Trust me, it was a hard 4 hours to sit through, but thank you all for sitting through it either way. Now, whether or not Toasty has been truthful in our call is yet to be seen, but I can only hope that nothing like the FCK can never be allowed to prosper ever again. And as some of you may have noticed in the call, I had agreed that I would only release the call before Toasty if they had failed to make a statement. And the answer to what actually happened will be left in the description of this video. In the case that if Toasty has made a statement, that will be linked also down below. If not, then that will also be stated. I would also like to take a moment to thank the amazing people who helped me make this video. Firstly, being Thumin, who had been amazing with helping me when asking the correct questions and getting the information as needed. There is also Juno A. Glass, who reprised their voice for Ancilla. And finally, Hidden Heroine, who did an amazing job on the thumbnail even under the time constraint. Sorry. This will hopefully be my last video on the ToastyVanilla / RubyLighterfluid situation, and now I can talk about a new thing I will be doing in all future videos, and that is the fan art section. Don't think I haven't seen the amazing artwork you guys have been sending me over the months, and here we are. I just want to say I really do appreciate each and every one of you for helping me get this far. I honestly didn't think we'd even get to 200 subscribers on this channel, and if any of you have any other fan art that you wish to send me, or topic suggestions, or simply want a place to hang out, feel free to join my community Discord server down below for channel and community updates. This has been Yen, and I'm going to bed.